Hey, Weintek warriors. Welcome to Weintek Live. Weintek Live is our new weekly live training session. Each week we cover a new topic to help you on your Weintek HMI application building journey. This live session will run for around 15 minutes, and if you have any questions related to the content being discussed, please wait until after the training session and we will address some of your questions then. Today, we'll cover the setup of basic data collection services and demonstrate how to back up this data to an external storage device. Okay, so let's head to our Easy Builder Pro project, and within the Data/History tab, let's configure some data logging, and you can do that by selecting Data Sampling here to the left. Okay, in the following window, select New. Right, so up top, I'll just add a comment demo, and this makes it easy to select our data sampling object within other objects, like a trend display, which we will show you here shortly. Okay, so we have the option to sample data based on a set time interval or based on a trigger condition. Now, I'm going to choose time-based. And you would choose the data that you're going to sample here within the data record section by selecting settings. Okay, and up top is where you would select the device you're going to sample data from. Usually you would choose an external device, a PLC. But for this demonstration, I will choose a local HMI and select New. All right. So up top, we have the option to change the name of the data we're being sampled, just so it's displayed a little bit better um, within your project and data that you export. So we'll call this one maybe temp. Oop. Change this. Give it a local address of LW0. Select OK. Now I'm going to select New. And if I leave this next contiguous address option selected, because we're starting reading the data at LW0 and our data type allows it, this will automatically read data from LW1. There we go. I'll give this a name of maybe, what was our last one? Temp. We'll call it load. How about that? Okay. So select exit, and we will now be sampling data from, of course, LW0 and LW1. However, if you wanted to not sample data from a contiguous address, you would just deselect this option and enter the appropriate address. But you should know that only up to 8 non-contiguous memory addresses can be chosen like this within a data sampling object. So just know that. Okie dokie. Now, within this history file section, selecting Enable will allow you to save this sample data to your HMI or to an inserted device, memory device, storage device. Selecting USB disk 1 will send our data to that inserted USB drive in the HMI's USB port. Now here at the bottom, we can set a preservation limit. And this is how long, this is how much data will be saved in this case on our external device. So we've got 7 days. So on our USB drive, we would only see the most recent 7 days of data in addition to the current day. So in total, 8 days. We can also auto-sync this data periodically, but I'll leave that deselected for now and hit OK. All right. So to view this sample data, I will select a trend display. Okay, and here we can actually create a comment, which we can call demo. Why not? In this data sampling index drop-down list, there it is. There's our demo data sampling object we've just created. That's where you would select that. In the distance between data samples, you want to select time. That's the most common option. All right. And in the display section, oh, not going to mess with anything there. Okay, well, first let me place this in our project so we can see the changes we make real time. So I'll head to the trend tab. And enabling this grid allows us to set a y-axis scale in this y-axis scale tab, which we'll do here shortly. So I'll select apply and we can view the changes we've made. We can add a time scale here, time and date. Why not? Apply that. Our trend display is looking better and better. Okay. Head to the channel tab. We want both our both the data being sampled to be included in this trend display. So I'll select our other data sampling object, and we can configure a color for the two here, and a width of the line as well. And if you make it a little wider, it's a little bit easier to view, so why don't we just do that? Oh, yeah, okay. Looks good. All right, headed to the Y scale tab. Okay, now we can set the Y scale for our two data sampling values on either the main or the auxiliary axis. Apply that. And the main axis, whichever value you throw on the main axis determines which will be closest here. Auxiliary axis, further away. And there can only be one main axis. Okay, so I'll hit OK. And to our object tab, select a numeric object. And we're sampling data from LW0 as well as LW1. Perfect. Okay, now let's just run a quick simulation to see our trend display and data logging in action. There we go. Oh, and you know what? We threw it on the wrong screen, and that's why we're not seeing it right now. And that's my bad, folks. Let me just do this. Throw it over here. All is well in the world. Run another simulation. Okay, let's try that again. To our data sampling page. Select a value here. Whoop. Got those thick old lines. All right, so there's no question what the value is here. Okay. Now, why don't we move on to creating an alarm? Okay, to create alarm, head to the data/history tab and select the event alarm log. And here on the following window, select new. All right, and up top you can see this category drop-down list, and this allows us to show specific alarms in specific alarm view objects. For example, you could add all the faults for motor 1 to category 1, and all the faults for motor 2 to category 2. It's a really great way to organize faults to show in these event viewing objects. And here in the read section, normally we would read faults from a PLC, but for demonstration's sake, we'll read a local HMI bit address. And you don't have to read a bit address. You can choose the word option, and we can trigger an alarm based on a value. We'll select bit, and LB0 will trigger the alarm. Now here in the message tab, we can configure what the alarm, when this alarm's triggered, what message will display on these alarm display objects. I will say something like motor 1 fault. Okie dokie. Select OK. We've got our alarm configured. LB0 is going to trigger it, and here in the history/control tab, just extremely similar to what we've just covered with the data sampling object. Enabling this will allow you to save this alarm data to HMI memory or the storage device, which is inserted into the HMI. We can also set a preservation limit, same as the data sampling object. Very similar, at least. Okay, now we need a way. Well, first, let's grab a toggle switch, LB0. This is going to trigger our alarm for this demonstration. Now we need a way to view these alarms. So we've got a few options here. We're going to cover 2 of them. The alarm display. This is only going to show active alarms. If the alarm's no longer active, you will not see it in this object. But let's just throw it within our object. We can change the look of it here in the alarm page, crystal, flat, the default. Let's go with crystal. Beautiful. And just as we spoke of before, you can select the category range in which you'd like to view active alarms. Remember the motor 1, motor 2 example when we created our alarm? Well, if you wanted to see alarms from category 1 only, you would just do this. But we want to see all the alarms for this example. Perfect. Head to the sort tab, and we can choose columns that we'd like to view. Trigger time, trigger date, message. I think that's pretty good for a active alarm object. So we'll keep that as is. And we can further customize the column name if need be. Okay. Perfect. Select OK. Beautiful. Now we also have the event display object. And this will show both active and past alarms. If alarm is come and gone, you'll see it in this object. So let's just place it here. Oh, there we go. It's perfect. Place it within our project, and I'm not really going to use the acknowledge feature, so I'll just set it to an arbitrary local address here. There we go. Okay. Heading to our event display tab, just as before, we can customize the look of it, the color. Let's see, events. We can change the name that you'll see on top of the object. Events is pretty good, though. We can also change the color of the alarm once it's been acknowledged. So once an alarm has been acknowledged, simply by clicking it, as you'll see here soon, it'll appear as yellow in this table. Perfect. So here we go. Again, we've got the category option for which alarms you'd like to see. I'll keep it 0 to 255 for now. And we're golden. And again, what do we want to see on our object? Trigger date, time, and acknowledge time, and the message. That works for me. That's a pretty good start here. And again, if you want to further customize these column names, you can do so in the title tab. Okie doke. Let's just expand this so we see all the goods. I think there is some more here. Oh, some more here as well. Let's pop this up a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. So now let's run a quick simulation, trigger our alarm, and see that info reflected in our alarm viewing objects. Okay. So trigger our alarm. You see it on both of our alarm and event objects. Alarm's gone. It's no longer active. It is no longer to be seen on our alarmed display object. However, it's still here in the events, our event display object. Okay, now I'm selecting an alarm in the event object. Will acknowledge it. Oh, didn't change colors though. Oh, oops. All right, that's how you acknowledge an alarm in this object. All right, now let's cover how to take this data that we've sampled, or alarm data, and export it to a CSV file. So, within our data/history tab, I'll select backup per page. And in the file source drop-down list, I'll select historical data sampling. So it's going to take this data being sampled and export it. We have a range here. This doesn't really matter. If we've set a preservation date of 7 days, you'd still only see that 7 days worth of data exported. Touch trigger. This will allow the data sampling to be activated by the touch of a button, which you'll see here shortly. And here in the output section, we have our USB disk 1 option. That's where we're going to export the data. And the storage format section, you can either choose to export a database file or a CSV file. I'll select CSV for this example. Now, we can include millisecond information on this exported CSV. I'll deselect that. Not required for this example. Okay. So now let's go ahead, run a simulation. Let's get some data going here. We've got all the data. Perfect. So I'm going to hit this backup object. Oh, backup in progress. We've got the data, folks. Now let's take a quick peek at it. Here it is. Here's our CSV file. Pop it open. Let's see what we got. Okay, we've got our date, time, the data being sampled from our temp and load data sampling objects we configured. Alrighty, so you're now prepared to start building your application with an Easy Builder Pro. I'll now take a few minutes to answer some questions related to the information we've just covered. If you have a question that's not related to the topics being discussed, please check out our forum. Our forum contains many helpful staff-written technical tutorials, and your questions may have already been asked and answered by us or other forum users. So come on down, sign up, Join the Weintek Warrior Nation, and that's forum.wintechusa.com. You're going to love it. So much information. Also, poke around our YouTube channel. There is just a treasure trove of technical tutorials, and there's always something in the works. Come on down, check it out. Check often. You're going to love it.